Headphones on, so it'll record well. I'm not gonna be getting any sort of reverb or anything like that. No, this is on the video already, of course. All right, so if you aren't up to date from Monday's lesson on the React app, you can go ahead and pull from the GitHub. It is up to date. What we're hoping for is our car rental app website to look as such. Anyone's car rental app is not looking like so, then we can of course take a look and see if we can get it up to date. If not functioning correctly, we can get you going. There's the cover. We have the hover capabilities on our buttons here. Home, of course, go to our home screen, and login brings us currently to a blank page. Does anybody need anything getting to help themselves get to this point? Or is everyone good?
I've got all the functionality, but my text for the nav bar, like the font is different. I think it's defaulting to like just Times New Roman or something, which I'm not worried about, but.
Which one? This one or this one?
The one on the left, Expressian.
And we just did a font family, I believe, under on it. That's not what I was looking for. Is this it? No, that's something else. What is that? This is the one. We go to the nav bar. What we're looking for is monospace on the font family. Make sure you got font family monospace.
Nav bar. Oh, okay, got it.
Cool. Well, did you just not have it, or did you have? Was there a misspell?
I spelled it wrong.
Usually what it is. Yep.
All right, I'm good. Thank you.
No worries. Awesome. Anybody else? All right. So our nav bar is functional at the moment, so we're actually going to move back to our home screen now. What we want to do is get the splash screen here and get this text into the center of the splash screen. So we have that nice splash on the top of it. What we're going to do is have that splash screen take up pretty much the whole screen, this whole width of this area, probably at least a good 70% of it. Probably from here to about here. We want a little bit of down there so people know that they can scroll down. If we take up the full thing, it may not be obvious that they can scroll down. We'd have to add some little arrow pointing down so they know they can scroll. By only taking up about 70%, there'll be a little bit of white at the bottom, and they'll be able to see, oh, there's more below. I can scroll down and see it. And we can even give a little bit of text might be peeping over the edge too, that they can know, hey, there's more below, without having to add that little down arrow at the bottom of our splash screen, splash image. So first element, let's go back to the home screen, is we're going to want that splash container, a splash element. What's really nice is that can actually be useful in multiple pages. So we're probably actually going to create a common element for that. And this way you can have the splash element for any of your projects, as well as any other page that might benefit from having this nice little splash component at the top. If you want a very splashy page or splashy system. Where are my notes? Which tab is that under? This one. There it is. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and go our comment and let's create a new file called splash. And challenges
and
before.
It's just under common, right?
Yeah, we're just gonna put this in the comments. We can bring this to other projects. It's a useful little item to have for any React project you build, any website project, so that way it's good to have it.
There's an extension that you can get for VS Code that does this boilerplate for React automatically for you.
Long or short, just like I can do the pound symbol and like this, what is it? Bang, prop type, and then let's not do it for some reason. Oh, because I'm not an HTML file.
Try RFCE.
Nope.
No, you don't have it.
RFCE. No. But there's if you're in an HTML file, so I just do this just for the fun of it. Quick. You have the shortcut where you do the bank symbol and you hit tab, it'll fill up the basic template for a HTML file. So
Cool.
those are common items. What's that?
I didn't know that one. That's nice.
Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of those types of things. So I'm not surprised that they might have a React one. So not surprising. Need that here. So yeah, and it's also good. I personally, now that once I'm familiar with something, I'm okay with using those things. But in the beginning, I want to type it out a bunch myself because that way I understand it. I know what it is. I don't have this like, hey, it works. I want to make sure I'm very familiar with it. So for the moment, I'm going to keep going with it. And this stuff's so simple to type that I'm fine with it. There we go. We got our basic component.
I got everything except for props.
Which is understandable at first. This is one of those things where I'm like, I haven't figured out which habit I want to have. Like, I don't know if I want the habit where I always put props and then remove it if I don't use it, or if I want to not put it in my default, and then the second I grab it, do I then add it then? So I never know which habit I want to do. So if you get the habit of not entering it until you need your first prop, that's fine. I know for this one, we're going to do the props.child, which is the text on top of the screen, and most likely whatever image we want it to load. So I kind of already, I had the unfair advantage of knowing that I was going to use props, but yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So I had a slight unfair advantage. I knew we were going to need props. You guys didn't know that. Yeah. So what we're going to do here is by default, you might think like, oh, we're going to use an image tag. Not in this case. We actually, because image tags don't really display text on top of them. What we have though is that divs can actually have a background image attached to them. A div can actually have a background image as part of its style, which makes it normal div. And we know we can put other HTML tags inside of a div, right? So that's what we're going to take advantage of. The fact that a div can contain other HTML elements, but at the same time displaying an image as its background. So we're going to get rid of the H1 and actually switch it to a div. This div is going to simply contain props.children. We're very familiar with is just being anything in between this splash tag. So once we have that splash tag and another parent element, anything in between the two tags will be displayed in this area. Very simple, straightforward. The key element here is going to be our style, how we make this work. So style, I'm going to go ahead and do right away, background image. The background image is going to be in a string URL, and then oh no, not a string, sorry, backticks. My bad, sorry. URL parentheses +sign bracket props dot image. So this is going to be the image we're going to send to it. So we're going to send it an image through the prop system, and then we're going to display it. And the URL just makes sure it generates the local URL for the image from the asset tag. So
Hey, Cliff,
go for it.
can you make your text just slightly larger?
Definitely can.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
No,
Are there
for-
supposed to be parentheses around the $sign and the prop stem
yes.
image?
Yep.
Okay.
Because this is a method, a HTML method that, not sure how to say it. I'm not sure if it's HTML or just JSX, but this will convert the image we give it into a HTML friendly URL of the location of it in the local project. I'll admit, it's one of the items that I'm not fully understanding how it works. It works, and so I use it. You don't always need to understand everything in order to use it. I can say that everyone here definitely knows how to use it, probably knows how to use a car without knowing exactly how it works. At least a lot of you here probably use a car not knowing exactly how it works.
You said it's backticks around the URL?
Yes. Anyone not know what a backtick is? Right, we assume we get it. Yeah. Backticks allow us to do this $ curly bracket thing. So with the backticks, we can do this string injection.
So it's called string injection in this one.
Yeah, we're injecting the string like right into the string. Injecting code actually into it. Background image. Next one is going to be background size. This does this tells it how to display this background image inside of the div element. Because the div element can adjust, there's multiple different items we can use. Why is it not predicting or showing them? So I want you guys to see the different variations we have. Of course, I'm going to show them. Let me pull it up in here for a quick second. Just so you can see the possible options we have. We have auto, contain, cover, inherit, initial, revert, and unset. Background size can also be, if I remember correctly, pixels, or you can also do height and width on it too. Background size by default, if I remember correctly, of course, is auto, and it will just try to fit the image in there without any sort of adjustments. It won't stretch it or anything. It's just going to put the image in as its resolution. So if it's too small to fit the system, it's got this tiny image in the center of your div. Great. If it's too big, it will be too large to fit the image. It's going to be blown up. It will fit, it'll take as much space as it needs. Contain will deform the image to make sure that the entire image is inside of the div. So it'll squish it or stretch it to make sure it's actually fit. It will not keep the aspect ratio to make sure that the entire image is in there completely. Cover, on the other hand, will either it'll zoom in on the image either up or vertically, both up and it'll zoom in on the image until the image takes up both height and width, but it will not lose the aspect ratio. So you won't get any sort of squishing or pulling of the image. So you won't get any stretching of the image. So it'll zoom into the image until the image takes up the height or the width that is necessary. What we'll do is after we get this loaded on the screen, we'll actually play with this on the front end so we can see what that looks like, the different variations we have. I'm going to tell you that the one we want is cover. Cover is going to give you your best kind of behavior that you want. Right. Up. Let's give it our height.
Wouldn't it be contains because you want it to be a specific height? You wanted it to be 70%, no? Because you wanted that white on the bottom.
I'm talking about the image though inside of the div. So the div is going to have its own height. Okay. But we want to know how, we want to tell the div how to manipulate the image in order to fit that within the div. So the div will have its own height. By default, the image will just be loaded at the resolution it is. So if its resolution is smaller than the height and width of the div, it's just you're gonna see a picture with a bunch of white or empty space around the edge of it. If it's a picture that has more resolution than the div, it's just going to be, or it's gonna spill over. Like I said, contains will stretch and morph the image and kind of adjust the image to make sure that it fits perfectly into the div without any overflow. So if you have a let's say, for example, just a landscape photo, I'm sorry, a portrait photo. So a person took a picture with a phone in the vertical position, and you try to put it into your div that is more landscaped, it's going to pull it to the left and right a lot. You're going to have this warping image, this warping sense. We don't want that. So cover, on the other hand, like I said, cover will zoom into the image until it fits both height and width. So it'll keep the aspect ratio, but make sure it takes up all available empty space. So it gives the best behavior for what we're trying to get out of this. Height, like I said, we're probably going to do like 70% of the view. So that's where we use 75 VH. So view height, remember that. That is the percentage of the view height. So whatever the person is using as their viewer, this is from here to here is the pixel measurement for view height. So even though we're pushing this down a little bit, it'll still take from here to here as the view height pixel measurement. So do keep in mind that 75% is already being pushed down a little bit by our nav bar. That's why we don't want to do like 100% or even 90%, 75. We may even shrink that a little more, bring it down to maybe like 65 maybe, but 75 is a good starting point. And for the content of the information, we're going to go ahead and do justify content as center. We'll do align items as center as well. We do want the text inside to be one on top of each other, not side by side. So we'll do flex direction as row, column. We also want the width to be 100%. Last but not least, again, on this one, we want to make sure that this is underneath everything, that there's nothing on that, everything else is on top of this image. This image should be at the bottom. So we're going to make sure this is set to a Z index of 0, the opposite of our nav bar. The nav bar we want on top of everything and always at the top, no matter what we're doing, while the splash screen should be underneath everything, that nothing should be underneath it. So we'll set that at the lowest index of 0. Any elements here not make sense?
One second.
No worries.
So for the Z index, priority 0 would be the bottom of the stack, correct?
Yep.
Gotcha. Right.
99.99 is our top.
Yep.
Okay, I'm good.
So we have no questions about the items, so let's go ahead and save this. We'll head back to our home screen. I'm going to go ahead and import our splash. Also going to import our splash image. Splash from the common splash and splash image from our assets. And we're going to go back twice because this first one backs us out of the home folder. And then this one backs us out of the components folder into source. And then we can dig into assets and then the splash. Look at that. Single dot is current folder, double dot is previous folder. And wrap. For now, let's just put the splash image in without any of the text in between, just so we can see how it looks. So let's do splash. We'll give it 2 items. So we'll give it the image. It's going to be splash image. And that should be the only component we actually need to give it, because we're not going to give it any children yet. So That should work. So let's find out. How's that look? Wait, why is my nav bar still moving? The hell? Confirm that got stuck. Did I not confirm that in last class? So we can debug in a second. Make sure everybody at least got this going.
Can you go back to your code for a second?
Again, please?
Yeah, please.
No worries. I was gonna just want to make sure it looked good before I had you guys copying it.
Good, dot, dot.
Making sure they're side by side. So you get the splash on the right and the home screen on the left.
I see.
Oh, whoops.
What you do?
So I
Put it
put
in the
everything.
container.
Yeah.
What's that?
We
Yours has splash image. Where is that coming from?
Line 4.
No. Where is that coming from? Like on your folder, on your,
We grabbed that in class on Tuesday, went to unsplash.com and grabbed a image for our site.
oh, so. Why does mine not?
Do you have your assets folder?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a picture there.
I have a picture there, but it doesn't look like that. I mean, it's not working like that.
And you have this over here on the right, right? That's correct.
yeah, mine is
Yeah.
just saying image
Check it in a
static.
second. Yeah, let me check it in 1 second.
Oh.
Anything
I'm
else?
grabbing.
Mine did not work as expected.
All right, let's start going through. Whoever shares their screen first gets to go first.
This will be a
Uh-huh.
fun one.
I think mine is different, so I'm
Matt
gonna let him
beat
go
ya.
first.
I got the same error as Matt, so.
All right, I have a theory with going on, so let's go ahead and take a look. Let's go back to your,
Oh, hold on. I'm
code.
only sharing this one window. 1 second. Let me share
Oh.
everything. There we are.
share everything. What are you guys trying to hide now? All right, so right there. Oh, that should be a prop inside of the splash object or inside of the splash tag. That is
Oh,
a prop.
So, this, hold on. Can you show yours again? Because
Yep. It's the angled bracket, to be honest, but yeah. Note the angle bracket is here.
Oh,
and
it's
this
inside. It's
inside.
not. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
Ah, my God. Yep.
If this makes it look a little nicer. There you go.
I did
That's
the
it.
same thing. It's so easy to miss.
Yeah, it can be.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, I saw the
and
blue. I saw that yours was blue, mine was white. I was like, yeah, that's the problem right there. But
That's
Yeah.
better.
Look good.
I
Okay.
still closed that. I mean, I closed it at the end, but are we gonna use the splash more?
Whoever's next, go ahead and share your screen. Whoever shares their screen first will get their issues resolved first. I mean, Jeff, stop waiting. Just go ahead and go for
get it
it.
while it's
No,
hot.
no, I was actually looking
Okay,
at what
go.
you wrote when you had it up on your
Ah,
screen.
Okay.
I think I figured mine out. I was just copying what you were writing. If you could put yours back up, I think
I
I solved
can.
mine.
Cool.
So-
I will do that.
And if it's still it, then I'll share.
Okay, cool.
So ish equals.
This background image works really well with the color that we chose.
I was surprised on that. Yeah, the green in that splash image actually works really well. Or that teal green that we have, right? The copyright safe teal green. Sometimes you just get lucky with your selections.
What's your screen, what's your output screen look like?
So I'll pop that for 2 seconds. Where is that one? There it is.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Yeah, mine's like that. All right.
How's it looking, Jeff?
Not working. Okay. Let's try this. Share my screen.
What's it doing? Start there first.
Yep.
Yeah.
Saying that mine doesn't match
I
up.
see the
with what it
problem.
is. What's that?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You got the extra, you put an, there's an extra thing on the end of your splash image. There's a
Your
character
extension is
along there.
off.
My extension.
Yeah,
Yeah, go back
splash
to
dot JFIF. It should be dot JPEG.
Oh, that's the thing. That is what my file
And
is.
in
though.
line 9,
Oh,
and
But they
line
should
9
be,
has
hold on,
at
hold
the
on,
end
hold on.
there.
Hold on, people. You're getting too complicated.
You're missing the quotation.
Yep, Leah's got it.
Yeah, but
That should be
also
a
line
string,
9 has
so-
an error.
Quotes around the import on line 4.
Okay, that's what I'm missing.
More.
And
we
line
go.
9 is a problem.
What's wrong with line 9?
He's got a splash, he's got a close tag on with the splash. Is that right?
That's
No?
fine. Yeah,
You can have
No.
that with the close there? Is that how it works?
yes, unless you're self-closing. All tags must be closed.
Oh, I did a self-closing, that's why. That's
Yeah,
why
we're
I did a
gonna
self-closing.
put stuff in here. That's why I didn't do it. We are gonna
Yeah.
put stuff in between. So that's why I didn't do a self-closing one.
Still didn't
Make sure to
work.
match my code, Jim.
The name
Even
on
if-
the name on your image, you have a capital S splash.
Oh, check it again. I didn't see that. Oh, yep, it's lowercase in your folder, and that matters. Yep, case sensitivity.
Didn't change. Let me try
back.
refreshing.
Missing semicolon it tells you, which it shouldn't be an error.
You said missing a semicolon.
Nope,
Well, I don't know
not there,
yet.
outside the quotes.
322.
Ah,
It says line 322. It says line 3. Why would you need a semicolon though? What? Hold on.
yeah, missing a
Oh,
semicolon.
you got
Oh,
curly brackets there.
Yeah,
Curly
those have to be
brackets on line 3.
quotations
Those are
around props.
no, not quotations. Parentheses.
Oh, no, parentheses. I did the thing. I just said the wrong word.
Yeah, I figured. Go to your splash.
Hold on, if you look at line 2, you're missing a
We'll check on that in
semicolon.
a second, but semicolons
one?
shouldn't matter in JavaScript.
Yeah.
We'll check on that in a second. Yeah, right there. Those should be parentheses, not curly brackets. There we go.
Oh, that worked. Okay,
Yes.
all good.
Oh, yep. Yeah, semicolons. Well,
Yeah, see,
JavaScript likes them and that technically requires them. JavaScript's interpreter will place them where it thinks they belong based on white space. So that looks good.
Damn, it looks better if I would have closed it. If I leave it
Right.
like this, it looks better.
I'm not sure what you mean.
But when I stretch it out, it doesn't look like that.
Hmm.
Gonna have to play around with that.
Yeah, definitely. And there are other ways that, again, I'm not too familiar with, like, I'm not the best at CSS, but there are ways to target different points of the image, especially with what we have, since we have a landscaped photo. The left and right images are what's being stretched, and then the top and bottom are just being pulled till they don't fit anymore. So there's a way to tell it to focus on the bottom of the image or on the top of the image. Right now, it's focusing centered of the image. So wherever the center is, that's what it's zooming in on to make sure that the left and right fit the edge. So again, to show my screen, just make sure again we understand what's happening. So what's happening in this image is that whatever the box is, so if I bring in my annotation tool, box here, if the image takes up, let's say, this amount of space, what it's going to do is it's going to pull the image with my drawing up and this way on all sides in an aspect ratio. So it's going to keep this ratio and just pull it to grow it until what am I looking for? It'll first pull to see which one gets hit first, but it doesn't care about that one. It wants to, it's going to keep pulling it until all 4 areas at least has some sort of image. Because of our image being a aspect ratio of this style, it's very likely that it's going to keep pulling up and down or pulling the top and bottom. Because these will fit, I don't know. It's hard to say which one will be, it's again, it depends on the image. Based on what I'm seeing here, because it's getting cut off here, I know that in our image, we actually had the bottom of the car. That means that because we squished it, most likely because of the fact that we're doing like a 75 view height, or 75 view height, that the aspect ratio of our splash div, this thing, isn't matching the aspect ratio of the image we picked. And so it's pulling it left and right. Once the left and right of the image matches these barriers, these walls on the left and right, there's overflow of the image on the top and the bottom. And that's why we're getting a cutoff. what it does is it zooms in on the center of the image. And so we'll get overflow on the top and the bottom. There are ways in CSS to tell it to focus on the bottom of the image or on the top of the image, but I'm not familiar with that code. So I can't really show it, but I know there are ways of doing it. What I will show though, just so you guys have the familiarity with it, again, is what the other variations do. And as you see, as I zoom in, as I squish this down, you see eventually the top and the bottom is where it borders out. So now the top and the bottom are where it's done stretching, and now we're going to get some overflow on the left and right. So as I keep pulling, you'll see it's cutting off there instead of cutting off top and bottom anymore. Good there.
Just so you know, my my nav bar doesn't stay either. It's
Yeah,
not
it's not
perm.
stuck yet. So we're going to debug that next. Before we move into, before we pull this into here, we're going to debug this first. So we got that. And I'll show quick if you click on this, instead of doing cover, let's switch this to contain. So it didn't do what I thought it was going to do. See what we have here?
It made it double because that's what it did on mine too.
Yes, it's tiling it. There's an option I think called no tile, but I can't remember how I don't remember the CSS command for it, but there's a command for no tile. We do
Inherit.
auto. That did nothing. We do inherit. Got nothing. Yeah, well, it's just, as you see, this is just filling up it's treating the image like it's normal resolution. So it's massive. Remember how big our image was? That's just the top car in the top left corner of the image. So it's a massive image. So
If you just type, click on that and delete what's, contain.
this. Yeah, contain, we did that one already.
You had background size.
I know I wanted to do background side that I didn't get it. Background size. Yeah, contain does that tiling. It will make sure that the image is there. It will hit one of the barriers at the top or side.
Repeat, no repeat.
That's what's called repeat, no repeat. Thank you.
Have to go. Have a good
Background
night,
repeat,
guys.
background repeat.
Good night.
Yeah. Repeat, no repeat. There we go. But you see here, it'll align it to the left. It'll fill out whichever one it can fit first. It'll keep the aspect ratio, and it'll try to fill either the top or the side first. Whichever one hits first, the repeat or the white space will hit on that side of it. So this one, it hit the top and the bottom first, so it then filled white space on the right here. That's what contain does. Contain, make sure it fills up the div, but it won't fill up all empty space. It'll just fill up as much as it can without deforming it. I can't remember which one that tells it to deform it, squish it, but yeah, not important because I wouldn't want to do that anyway. That's why I say cover is one of the ones that looks the best. You don't have to worry about repeating. This actually gives that image, that view that we're familiar with, this concept of an edge-to-edge image that is quality, that looks nice, that is filled, right? This is what we're used to seeing, this edge-to-edge image. I do feel like we have a slight border on our body though, which is really annoying now that I think about it. I forgot about that stupid stuff that a lot of these languages do. I can't find out where that's coming from. Something there. I can't have this white gap there, and I don't like it. I'm trying to think where that comes from. Or is that just from my nav bar? Is that just from my scroll bar? That could be from my scroll bar. Never mind. Let's go ahead and let's do the next thing. Let's try to fix this nav bar. Now I could go back to our Visual Studio Code and try to figure out where the CSS is wrong, but it's most likely going to be easier if I go ahead and try to edit it here. So what I'm going to have you guys do is I'm going to give you guys like 2 minutes. Click on this, go to inspect. On this div right here, ignore this one. This is our spacer. This one right here. See if you can play with this to get it to do what we want. Figure out where what's messing with it. Why isn't it working? So I'll give you guys a minute to play with it yourself, and then I'll start playing to see if I can figure it out too. You guys try first.
We're trying to lock this.
Yep, try to get to stay at the top. Mhm.
All right.
Ah, much better image.
Ah, there you go. I got it.
Just
Yeah,
a-
same here.
Another minute. Let's see if anyone else can figure it out. I'll tell you guys let me know what it is. I'll let you guys figure it out or tell us what it is. You guys the reward for that. Nice.
I figured it out.
Nice.
I figured it out.
Woo. Actually, comes in wait a little longer. I think it's good enough, actually, though. Let's go ahead. What did I forget?
You should
Position
have,
fixed.
yeah.
What is it?
Position
Position
fixed
fixed.
instead of absolute.
Oh, right. Because actually, I have code here that does absolute other code. I have to check on that now. Used absolute before. I don't know. Unless it does something else, or there's somewhere else in my code that I've probably added the fixed and I don't remember. All right. Yeah, that does it. That is it. You're right. Now that you said fixed, I'm like, yep, that sounds familiar. Cool. There you go. We're not stuck. So let's go back to our nav bar and just make that quick change. So, button, nav bar, absolute. Fixed. All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and in our home now, let's move these two H tags into our splash item and our splash component and tab them over. While this should work, it's going to cause a slight odd issue of I can't see it.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna need to move it up to the front.
Not that. It's there.
Just
Oh, it's just
coloring.
too dark.
Change the
Yeah.
color.
I need to switch the color. Now I can
shadow box.
that too. Yes, we do want that as well because if I was, well, before I say why, first thing is I want both of these to be the same color. So I could of course do style on both tags, but a better way of changing the color of two tags inside of something is to add the color prop to the color property, CSS property to the parent tag. Currently though, our parent tag splash does not allow for style props, does it?
No.
So again, mini challenge. Can you adjust this so we can add a style prop? One of our other components, we've done that before. So we have done that in another component where we made it where we can make changes to it. The first thing I'll say is if someone finds it, you can give that as a hint to your classmates. I'll let you guys
Say
find
it again. What are we looking for?
So again, we want to change our splash component to allow it to accept a style prop. We've done this modification to a prop before in another component, So the first thing is whoever finds that first can definitely share that with the rest of the class as a hint. But you so find one if you need to, if you know how to change this without finding the original prop, great. But I don't care with you guys using references. So
Something like what we did with the container.
we did do it in
Perhaps.
container, didn't we?
It's not what I want. Eek.
So yes, we've done this before in container. So I'm not going to show it on my screen. You can use it if you want. So container is where we've done this before, where we've allowed container to accept a style prop. Use that as reference. Like 10 more seconds, then I'll start typing it. So you can compare what you guys came up with what I do.
Oops.
I'm going to start typing. So if you finish it or unsure, you can start watching me, but so you can get it yourself first. Challenge to this one, by the way, so to be aware that there is a issue with this one. Curious to see if you want to fix it.
Where did we define? Oh, okay.
I'm gonna leave mine broken for the moment. See if anyone can come up with how to fix it.
Oh, that's how.
What?
Just ranting.
Okay.
worry about it.
Curious to figure out how to fix the issue.
Oh no,
we
I'm
have
not
is
there
the-
yet.
Gotcha.
Is it broken? Mine it doesn't seem to be.
Mine works.
It shouldn't because props.image is out of scope.
You said props.image.
Yes. We have the style outside of the component. Yeah, compare it to container. The style variable we create is outside of the component. So if your style variable is inside of the component, technically wrong. So we don't want it rebuilding this variable or rebuilding this object every time it re-renders. That's why we put the variable or this style object outside of the item so that it doesn't rebuild this variable every single time.
Oh, wait a minute. I know why mine is not broken because I'm not doing what you did on line 5, which is style and props.style.
Yes, this line 12 here should not work on anyone's code because line 12 here is using props.image in order to get the prop that we send to it for the background image.
It's still working. Why?
My
Why?
code's not broken.
So what you're doing, because there's no way it should work. I'm guessing that your
Alright.
code is wrong in some way. So
All right, so share my screen here and I'm gonna share this.
good. Oh, did you refresh yet, by the way?
Please don't tell me that. I mean,
Yeah,
it
broken.
is broken, but it doesn't seem to be.
I don't know why
like,
it's not yelling at you though. Yeah, it's not yelling at you. I
yelling
don't
at
know
me.
why. It totally should be yelling at you because it's telling you right
Is
down
it-
there on your error message right there that that is not
Is
defined. And
everything an
so
issue because you're using the word style? Is it a reserved keyword?
no,
Okay.
Okay.
See, mine works. Mine's actually not yelling at
Alright,
me at
so
all,
I'm
but
gonna-
mine is
stop sharing.
similar to his.
switch to Jeff. Go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, it's broken. It's just not yelling at me for some reason.
Yeah, you don't get the red squiggly. I'm not sure why. You should definitely have the red squiggly. But Jeff, share your screen.
So no error. And
Well, because you don't have props.image inside of your system. You're loading it. Oh, go back to your code.
mhm.
So you're loading your, hold on. Well, this isn't this is not what we're looking at. We want to see Wait, what?
Splash.
You're supposed to be in the splash item, not there. Yeah, you're supposed to update the
Ah.
prop here to accept it. The wrong
Okay,
spot.
well, never mind.
No
I
worries.
didn't win.
It's all good. That's why I'm like, wait, it shouldn't work.
Didn't win.
It's not about
I
winning.
didn't win.
It's not about winning.
Well, you said, let's see who can get it done. Well, I didn't get it done.
I can't really argue that. You at least attempted, and I'm happy with that.
All right, so
Yeah,
what I
so-
wrote is not right, so I need to take that
No.
style out.
Home should not be touched. So bring home back. Sorry, nav bar, right? No, home.
Home.
Yeah, home should not be touched. We were editing the splash component. So get your splash component to mimic mine now.
So
All right, so while you're typing away though, did anyone see, do we understand why this line is yelling at us at least?
all right, so
So like you said, it's out of scope, but yes, I understand that because the props is actually should be in the curly braces with it under the splash const. And you took it outside from that.
Right. So somehow we need to make sure that this is happy. Any guesses how we can do that, how we can fix this?
Would we move the curly bracket from line 9 to line 21?
What? Here? Or here?
Yeah, could we move that one to line 21?
We totally could move it. What that does, of course, is it puts style inside of our component here, and now it's going to get rebuilt every single time we re-render. It's also unreachable because under the return statement. So I would actually have to move this above the return statement as well. So this is one this would fix it, but it is considered a little inefficient because we are going to be rebuilding this style object every single time it gets re-rendered because this could change. So, while it would fix it, it's considered bad practice, but isn't considered wrong. Any other guesses?
The idea that I'm having that I haven't fleshed out yet, it's not working, I mean, is inside of the splash, in the, is that would we call that a function, a method? What's the terminology for the okay, inside the component, we could assign the background image property to URL props.image because that element exists at the scope, but I can't get that working yet.
Or what we could do,
Mhm.
just take that one property, which is static, and just put it at the end.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Style here should only contain static style properties. Anything that is dynamic should be inside of the actual style prop or inside the actual component itself. So dynamic items should be here. If we did this, what we did here was so we could allow for dynamicism with this one. This is bringing dynamicism as well, but we also have this, which is dynamic as well. And so that should be brought in as well. How this works is, of course, style brings in all these, props.style brings in any items that we want and can override any of these items. So props.style can override any of the default style settings. And this one is a standard item provided by the props.image component. So we should never get background image from the props.style. We should always get it separate because we're going to be expecting an image property. At the moment, it doesn't really matter because we're not doing prop types, but this is again one of those things where you probably would want to do prop types. So if you're interested in it again, I'm going to add it to this one just so you can see it. You don't have to add this because again, it doesn't make the system work any better or not. So I want to make sure you guys can see it and it helps you guys later on in your code. So inside prop types from prop types. Do splash prop types. image equals string is required. And types object. And we'll just do it like that because it's not required. Fortunately, I haven't found the item that allows it to be recognized as a style object, but this will at least get it to be happy. Now, because of this, it'll do this. Is it string? I think it's string. Might not be considered string. Actually, I'm curious now. Is that considered a string? Image. Let's find out. Save. Successful. It is fine. See, it's considered a string. Okay, good. Got that. Now what we're gonna do quick. Actually, I'll hold here for a second, make sure everybody can catch up. So yeah. The prop types are optional. If you can get that in within enough time, go for it. If you can't, if you want to type that in later after class, you can also do that. This is the stuff that actually matters. Just make sure that you have that once you do all this, that our website still loads the same. I'm going to move this over here so I can stop going through IntelliJ to get to this. We still want our website to load like this with our text all unable to be seen. Everything, it should be looking like it was before.
Can you go back to your code?
Yep. Well, I'm on the nav button. Even though home hasn't changed though, so it's just
I
splash.
don't know why every time I import the prop types, it just never like I have to type everything. It just doesn't recognize.
It doesn't. I don't know why either.
Okay, all right, it just
It
does
does
that.
not like
Okay.
it. Yeah, it doesn't like prop types for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay.
It's not as convenient as a lot of the other packages, libraries.
Yeah. Because with everything else, I just accidentally hit a key and then Visual Studio Code is just like, here's everything.
Yep. Not sure why it hates prop types, but apparently it does.
That prop types guy, I hate him.
Telling me what to do. Like can and can't accept. Anyone else need more time?
Nope, I'm good.
Got that. Now all we gotta do is in our splash component under our home screen, we can now add the style item. So you hear how it's now recognizing that we are potentially going to add, we might give it a style component. Again, if you did the prop types, you'll see this. If you didn't, this will not pop up. So if you don't see this, that's because you didn't do the prop types. If you did the prop types, saved it, you should see this little pop up there for you saying, hey, is it a style with an object that you're providing me? Yes, it is. I'm going to give it color. Again, we're just going to do our F1, yeah, our off-white F1. We don't want to do pure F. Save that, pop back over. Yeah, that looks nice. Now, of course, one of the things you always want to do, though, is check with other varying sizes. Right now, we're lucky. This is right in the dark area of our image. We'll go back to inspect again, and I'll start shrinking it a bit. You see how if it's in a certain situation, it might not look great, right? When it's on top of the weight of the car, it's like, it's all right. This one's actually not that bad because this is a fairly dim white versus our F1, but still could be nicer, right? This is where we can use text shadow. Text shadow will allow us to put a barrier around the text where in the dark area, it's not visible. But as soon as any of this text shows up on a lighter color, it'll have that nice border to separate it from the lighter color. So, put notes on that, make sure I type it out right. There it is. There. There it is. Yeah. So, we were given last time. So we're just gonna go to here again, under our home. Ooh, I can't add that here. That actually has to be added to the tags, because these are on the text. Add it here, I don't think it'll work. Oh no, it does. Never mind. I'm losing my mind. Am I? Taking my notes. Hold on. No, yes, the text shadow will not apply on multiple items. Text shadow has to be applied to the element we want. So we do have to add these to these. Style, yeah. Shadow. And what Eridan gave us last time is exactly what we want. One string, one px, px, and then the color. So remember correctly, this is thickness, offset, and then color. Honestly, to be entirely honest, I don't know exactly why it works. It just does. I actually just pulled up how to add a black border to text and found this code. So not every single thing I do is something I came up with and played around with myself to find it. Sometimes I just said, hey, you know what? I need a black border around my text. And I Googled it and I was given this code. So did that. And then this one we're just going to do again. This one we'll just go ahead and just do black just to make it easier on ourselves. And then so you guys can see it, I'm going to do the line tags. Same style to our subjoin. Shadow, X. Pop back over to our code, to our site, and at first you don't see anything where it's this full screen because again, it's on top of the darker color. If I go ahead and inspect again, take a look very, very close to that C on the car. It's popping a little more because it has that barrier there. So it's very, very subtle, but it allows it to pop. So to show how it changes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this H1 and I'm going to disable the text shadow for a second so you can see the difference. It is supposed to be subtle. It shouldn't be obvious that there's a black border there. Are we seeing the slight change? Might be hard on the Zoom video, so probably want to do this on your own side.
Yeah, no,
Enable
it
and
looks,
disable text shadow.
I was saying, yeah, I was muted, but I was saying, yeah, no, it definitely looks nice.
Okay, I'm getting no feedback on this whatsoever.
No, I
one
was,
seems to care.
as I was extending the inspect window, it's very clear to see what it says.
Well, things like I said, you don't notice it so much when it's there, but as soon as you take it away, like, oh yeah, that's needed. It's one of those things to me. Whereas as soon as you don't need it, and just to kind of a little fun here, I'm going to do something interesting here. I'm going to change the color here from our white to black again on the text. And on each of these, my text shadow is going to be white. So. See how that can still take something on a black screen and still make it at least show.
My text shadow isn't working.
Might
Check
need to
over in a
refresh.
second.
Mine wouldn't work at first.
And it doesn't like the property name.
Why is it not going on the top? I feel like I knew there was an off for this. It's supposed to be a full black border.
Oh, do I have this in backwards?
There's a more complicated version. That's what it was. Why do I not have that on the other one? Somehow. There it is. There is a more complicated version of it. So the text shadow I gave you is basic enough to fix for most issues. But yeah, if you have something that's going to be very dynamic with the background, where you could have situations where there's an all dark area in someone the image, like really again, this one's useful for if you have an image as your backsplash. So switch these over again. This one, and do this.
Having a slight
There.
problem.
1 second. I'm not gonna have you guys do this one. I just want to show it again. First the page, look at the white white text again. So this one again actually has, so this one here actually puts a border around the entire text. So it sets the 4 offsets, the 4 locations of the shadow, and puts a shadow on all 4 cardinal directions or directional directions, diagonal directions, that word, diagonal directions of the text. So you can see right there on holders, it's got the whole thing on all edges. So if I disable it and re-enable it, you see both top and bottom. So, but what was your question, Jim?
I'm having problems having a text to go on top of the image. I can have the text go underneath the image, but when I put it into the splash, I don't get text at all.
Go ahead and share. You haven't been following my code. Just confirm you did refresh, right?
Yeah, so
It's not inside though.
I know, just because I just took it out now. So it works down there, see?
Yeah,
It's not
that's
there,
fine.
but then if I
Move it.
move it in here,
Hold down Alt.
there, it just disappears.
Go to your splash.
And the thing is, I copied everything you had, I believe. I don't think I missed anything. Is this supposed to be in quotes or regular 0? Because I remember you doing
Regular 0, not quotes. It's a number.
Yeah, I did that, and
Yeah, string might be putting it above it. Essentially,
well,
string can have a higher number. Why'd you hide it?
what?
Save it and show the screen.
Oh, yeah. It just still didn't do it.
Can you inspect the screen? Inspect the page quick. And see if those tags are at least there.
My thing is, I'm thinking it's above the nav bar, but I'm
Well,
not
that's what
quite
I'll
sure if
find
it's
out.
there or not.
So I want to look for it. I want to know if the H1 tags are there.
Yeah.
Let's find them. So
All
scroll
right,
down
so
there in the
we'll-
elements. Yeah. No, don't. Why would you do that?
Oh, I was just
Scroll down.
trying to close some of these divs to get to where I want to go.
Scroll down. I don't see the H1 tags. They're not there.
Yeah.
So let's go back to your splash. Maybe you misspelled children wrong or something. You did.
What?
I see it. You want to see it?
I must have spelled children.
Yep.
Children.
There it goes. Damn it, dyslexia. I'm just always times. Freaking A. There we go.
That's why I
hear you,
wanted to see
Jim.
if the elements were there. Since the elements weren't loading, the item in
Yeah.
charge of loading the elements is props.children.
Yeah,
Those children.
yeah, so it's over here now. It's still not centered, but I don't know why, but it was.
We can take a look at
centered
that
over
next. So let's take a look at that next. Let's see. We got just you still didn't copy me because it's aligned items, not aligned content.
there. Oh. Well, I did that when I went align, and then when I had when I
Items.
popped it up, I just hit the wrong
Yeah.
one.
No worries. Nope. Items. You had content.
Items.
Again, don't ask me why it's items, not content. It's just, yeah, that one's the one that works. So
There it goes.
cool.
Go.
All right. So back to my code. So what I'm going to do here for you guys, again, I want you guys to have both options for the shadows. I mean, maybe let's go back here. Nope. Max, stop readjusting my windows. Why do you do that? I did not move you there. I had you here. Keep it there. Don't auto adjust.
It
So
doesn't
one thing
believe
Apple
you.
does that I do not like, I set my desktops in a certain order and then it moves them. It's like, you like this desktop more, so I'm going to put it in front of you. No, I don't. I will tell you if I want that. Anyway, I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna undo one of these. I'm gonna keep one of these, the original concept, which is just the lower right corner. And I'm gonna share this in the Zoom so that you guys can have this one as well. So you guys can have the two variations of this. In chat. That there. There we go. So Michael will have both variations of the shadow system for these. And again, in a static image, the basic one, which is just the 1px, 1px opposite color, is fine. But in a moving image, when you have pictures and stuff, this one is going to benefit you more because again, it's a full wraparound of the whole text, all corners. So I can't show it here, but let me do this quick actually.
Oh, that looks way better.
It is nice, yes.
Oh, I wasn't talking about yours. I was talking about
Oh.
mine. I'm still playing with mine.
That moved up. Why did you go up? What? Oh, because it's doing all of them. I was just doing original. Wait. Oops. That's working. It's fine. Never mind. I was gonna try to get it to resize the image a bit, but whatever. I'm gonna swap them. That way I can show you guys again the difference. Hold on. That. And to demonstrate stuff. It's difficult.
This is black, not.
Did I save? Did it save? And yes, so hey, take a look at coffee holders. See how coffee holders now has a black border along the top and bottom. Just click on this. I'm going to do uncheck that one and then let me do this. Yeah, so you see the one that we did before where there was no barrier on the top left. Then we can switch over to this one. Now we have a barrier on all wrapped around the entire text. So again, like I said, on static images, not a big deal. I can definitely read coffee holder on top of this lighter colored hood. But in moving images, when you have a video playing in the background, because you have no control of how bright and where it's going to be, it can be helpful on a video to have the full coverage. So take someone who's actually worked with this before. When I had an image that was very much changing between dark and light colors, having this full encompassing background border color was nice to have. So like that, in our current application, the basic text shadow is enough to get it working, as you can see there. Both of these currently right now, this moment, since I switched this, have the basic shadow and it is working and doing what we want, where it's making it pop if it does happen to be on top of it. Good stuff there. Make sure we have all of our stuff currently active. All right. Last question I'll ask, do we want to pull this image down a little bit or do we like the size of it?
I think you should pull it down.
A little more? Let me do an 85. Do an 85. That look good now?
But, well, I don't know
I like
because
how
what
it
are you
has the
putting
yellow in it,
underneath
though.
it?
I don't like how it has the yellow in it, no.
Don't like that little
Oh
pop
yeah,
there?
the little.
Little pop of yellow. Now again, that's not based on the size of the visual height, that's gonna be based on the user. So that could pop anywhere. We have very little, it's definitely something we can try to minimize, but yeah, minimizing the height, but depending on the type of screen a person has, if they have a taller screen or something like that, it could end up doing it. So let me do this quick. I can do 80 for a second. Barely there. And then let me do this quick, which can be interesting. Let's see if I can do this right. You hide that. Take a look. Even though on the 80 view height, I didn't have the yellow showing, as soon as I hide my nav bar, my navigation bar at the top, and so I made myself have a more of a view height, that 80 view height now is higher, so then it loads more of the image, and now I have the yellow. So it's not guaranteed that view height is going to hide certain parts of the image. The user's browser is going to decide what does and doesn't show. So if there's anything in an image you do not like, don't use the image because there's no guarantee it will or will not show. Make sense?
Good to
Great.
know.
Great mention of that. That's actually a really good little caveat to be aware of. That yeah, you can't really control what does and doesn't show in an image. It all depends on the user's interface and their user's system. So yeah, there's something you don't like in an image, either don't use the image or crop it out. Awesome. I think we'll just actually stick with the 80. Again, not a big deal. 80 or 85 doesn't really matter. We haven't decided yet what we're going to put down here, even if we're going to put anything down here. For our instances, we might not put something here. Most likely what I would put is like an about us for like about the company, but not
That's
too
where
worried
the-
about showing you guys that.
That's where
What's
the
that?
social media contacts,
Yeah.
careers stuff.
Examples, some of the cars we might have, things like that.
That's the
So-
footer.
Yeah, a lot of different things. There's a bunch of stuff to put here. I'm just setting this up so that you know that if you want to add stuff to your front page of the home page of your project, you have that space there. All right, we're actually not going to do much else today because this is right now really nice for a basic page, right? Already better than what we did with what is it, Geeky Legs, right?
Yeah.
Looks a little nicer, and hopefully we're understanding a bit more of what we're building. We have components that we can reuse now. So hopefully this is giving you guys some inspiration of what you want to build for your apps, for your front end. What I do want to do though is just prepare us for Monday, which is going to be the login screen and the sign up screen. So what we're going to do now is just create those folders and files so that we can be prepared for it. So write my notes, which I now lost track of again, because I'm sure Mac moved everything around more.
I keep blaming everything on Matt. What did you do, Matt?
Mac.
Oh,
Mac. M-A-C, C, poor Matt.
I mean, that's
that
what I
Matt.
usually do. But, you know how to copy.
That Matt.
Create our auth folder. We're going to create a new file. We're going to create both login.js. We're going to create new file register.js.
Oh,
Let's create new user form.js. Last but not least, login. So you have those. We'll fill those out in a second. But the one I also
you
want,
put what?
login form, register, and new user form. We could also call this the register form, but I think new user form is more understandable what it is.
Hold on.
No worries.
Under, you made a new
Just create-
auth
yeah.
folder, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I haven't
That's
put
what I
any
was
content in any of the files yet, so just be aware of that. We haven't filled out anything in the files yet. So I'm going to create one more folder and file as well. We'll do that in a second. Make sure we have these files first.
I was too busy getting ahead of myself, fixing my own stuff here.
No worries. I'm just prepping us for Monday.
Login.js.
We have those 4 files. We haven't put anything in the files yet because I want to make one more folder and file. This is going to be our
Okay.
providers folder. guys remember what those are? Context providers. And the last thing I'm going to do today is we're going to build our auth provider so that on Monday, we can actually build all these out and even use that auth provider. So
Providers. Okay.
That's the
providers.
components.
Yep, under components, all in components. Yep. So this is a context provider component I'm going to create. Inside the providers folder, we're going to do auth. Auth provider. Yep, auth provider. Someone, yeah, I figured you're going to lose some people at 9. Yep. The reason why I decided we can finish with the auth provider is because it's a very basic component. There's not a lot of code to write in here. So React state. One thing to keep in mind is that context providers always use state. At least 9 times out of 10 you are. Not to say that there aren't context providers that may not use state. Most situations you're going to use state. So I always, whenever I create a provider, a context provider, I always bring in use state right away. The next item is we need to bring in the context system and actually create our context. So the first item we create in any provider is the same name here of provider, but instead of provider, use the word context. So we're going to do const context. All this line is just react.create context. React does most of the other stuff. What we do want to do is inside of here, we're going to give it, in my head, an empty array. That's just the default items. Don't worry about what it is. That technically is an array of options, if I remember correctly. I've never needed to use any of them yet, so I'm not very familiar with them, but feel free to look up what you can put in there. But that's angle brackets, empty array. I don't know why we do this. Yes, this is going to be what we're going to provide to the provider. This is that, and we're going to provide an array of items. Specifically, our auth state and our set auth state. So that's what this is, right? This is telling it what we're going to give it. To be honest, you can also be very specific on this too. You can even tell it, I'm going to give you an object and a function for doing that. If we wanted to do it, we could even tell it very specifically that the first item in the context is going to be an object, and the second item is going to be a function. Those aren't necessarily required, but some people do like to be very explicit. Again, this is the concept of explicit programming. I'm going to give you an object and a function. So I'm going to leave it here for this one, just so you have this as a reference. You don't need to do this, and we might have another provider later on where I can show that you don't need to put this in there, but I'm going to show this because this is a little more explicit. Just so you know, you can do that. I'll put it here though.
One thing about mine is not the same as
Hmm.
yours. Because I'm getting errors in there.
Where?
Next, underneath the unexpected token.
Remember, parenthesis,
Yeah.
bracket,
Brent.
curly bracket, comma, parentheses,
Oh,
arrow,
that's why,
curly
because
brackets.
I have parenthesis curly.
I know, yep, parenthesis, angle bracket, curly brackets, comma, parentheses, rocket,
Square bracket.
curly
Yeah,
bracket.
those have
Square
got
bracket,
weird
not an
ones.
angle bracket, right?
I'll make them a little bigger. So there we
There
go.
we go.
Parenthesis, yeah, then open bracket, curly brackets, both of them,
Now it's
comma,
good.
parentheses, a hash rocket, which is an equal sign greater than symbol.
I love that that's called a hash rocket.
So that's what this actually has multiple names: hash rocket, arrow, hash arrow. I remember hash rocket because that's what it was called when I was learning Ruby. So that's just the name that stuck in my head because I heard that so often. And I wrote it so many times, so hash rocket is the name that sticks in my head. And then angle, and then more curly brackets, the closing square bracket, and the closing parenthesis.
You just need to,
Yep.
just add A in array.
What's that?
It's just nitpicky on line through on the comment array spelled wrong. Just, I don't know, it doesn't really make it, just everybody knows, but
Fine.
It's Ari.
yeah, don't worry.
Again, what we're doing here again, we're just telling it later on, we do the provider, when we create the provider context, we provided a value option. You know what, actually, let's finish this and I'll be able to explain again what this exactly is doing. It'll make more sense, so. Const auth provider. This is a normal component. This is when we then create the object, the auth, our state, and set off. Again, what's holding the state, and then the function that changes state, updates it. We use state, and what we put in here is the starting value of the state, which we're going to use as token. Of course, null by default, if we don't have any token. And what's going to be nice, what we probably want to do again, like last in our previous project, is to bring in the profile, which again will start as null. All right. Standard state, nothing too fancy there. Return, and we're going to return here is the actual auth context provider. And that's the key item here. The auth provider creates the auth context provider. Sounds crazy and it's a little dizzying, a little nesty, but this is just how it works. So we do auth context dot provider. And again, what we do is we give it a value. And this is where this item, what we put in here, what we put inside of this must match what we gave here. So when originally it was this, we just need to give it an array with as many items as we want. Because we did this, we're telling it very specifically, we're going to give you an array that has an object in its first index and a function in its second index. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to give an array with auth, set off. Auth is an object, and setoff is a function that updates auth. Remember?
Mhm.
By doing this, we are now matching very specifically what we gave it here. So that's all this is. What we're doing here, whatever goes inside of this function for create context, we're letting it know what we're going to give to value later on. Do that. And then of course, like always, we want to tell it to display whatever was given to it in between its items. We do props dot children. Children, not children. Children is apparently one of the easiest items to mix up. So double check your spelling on children.
I mean, I named them, so I think I'll be good.
Careful if they're twins, man. You'll end up writing their names on Sharpie in the bottom of their foot.
Actually, you want to hear something funny? So my children, I did this just to piss them off and have a good time. All of my children have all of the same initials. They're all AMM. So that
you
way, if
can't-
one thought that they could, and they're all AI first too. So there's no way that one of them could say that one comes before the other. So they're like,
So you
oh, I
can't-
come first. No, you don't.
Sorry, Jeff, you can't beat my wife's family who did what they did to what she did to her children. So my mother-in-law decided to name her first children, we were twins, Helen and Helen. And we went Helen Patricia and Helen Paola. So the two twins have the same first name and the same initials. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
And then
pissed.
Terrible.
her next kid, third kid, decided to go with Helen Carolina. So they're all Helen. So they all go by their middle name. When I tried to buy them when I tried to buy them all necklaces for Christmas the first time I was down, I was like, oh, I'll just get them necklaces with their initial for their first name. I'm like, crap, my wife and the sister have the same first initial for their middle name too.
Should have
This is
gotten them
annoying,
a,
so
should have gotten them a printer.
seriously.
Nothing
I ended
beats
up,
moving to the
I ended
third
up doing
power.
that though. I just gave my wife the
Or-
gold P and the sister got the silver P and the
Should have
silver
got him a
C.
thesaurus.
Oh, it's not even better. The mother is actually Elena. So she just put her name with an H on the beginning of it. So, and again, based on how Spanish says Helen and how the Spanish say Helen, it is Ellen and Elena. So you have the mother Elena and the children Ellen, Paola, Ellen, Patricia, and Ellen, Catalina. It's like, why would you do that? Like, it's just evil.
I got a funnier story, but let's finish here. I don't want to derail. And then after that, I'll tell you a funnier story that happened.
I'm
on
looking forward
Sunday.
to it. So for the export, we're not going to do export default because we have two things we have to export. We have to export the context and the provider. So we do an export with a bracket of auth context and auth provider. This is what allows us to do these things like this. When you see this in an import, this is kind of what we're doing here. We're exporting those two items. We can then import them as individual items later on. So that is it for the provider. We're not actually going to do anything with it yet. But this is now prepared. We are now ready to use this on Monday as we go through the auth system.
So question for that. For the auth
Yes.
system, does your authentication have to work for your app in order for that to work?
Yes.
For it to work? All right,
Yeah.
so. I've kind of been cheating because I'm actually building my React while I'm learning from you. So mine does not. So I think on that part, I might just have to watch what you do.
No worries. Yeah, you have to get the auth. Now, technically, yeah, you can fake the auth system, but what we built on Monday will need to work.
Can you go back to auth provider?
Yeah,
I was
just
actually
cleaning up all my tabs, so I realized I had way too many tabs open. I didn't realize it. So, yep, that's open again. And as you guys are typing this again, I'll remind us again what providers and context provide does. So as you've seen before, we pass data between components through the prop system. Now, if we have, if we go back to my app for 2 seconds, if we had something, let's say, I'm trying to think. Yeah, here on the home screen, let's say we have something on the home screen that we wanted to pass to the login screen. Well, the home screen can't pass data up the chain. It can't give data above itself. It can't pass it to a parent. A parent can pass information down to its children, but a children cannot pass information back up to the parent unless the parent gave it the item and said, here's a way also to update the information. So we could have the parent has the state and the provide and the set state method, and I can pass the set state method down to the child. The child can use that then to change state, which then affects me, the parent. But like I said, I can't have the child cannot create the state and pass that state up to me. If I wanted data from the home, from the router though, to change data in this text field here, I would have to pass, not in the text field actually, let's say, yeah, in the text field, we can say that, it's fine. I would have to pass that information down to the nav bar, to the home, from the router, to the home element, to the ch12 tag, and then I finally make a change. I have to pass it down these multiple layers. And that can get in our app right now, which is simple, that's not that bad. But if you're thinking about it in a larger application, it's possible that I might have data that I need to pass down through multiple components all the way down to the final component that needs it, and through several staging like branches. Again, for our auth system, we need that token pretty much throughout the entire application. It's going to be very annoying for us if we have to have a state in our router that is maintaining the authentication, and then we're passing it to every single component in this giant tree. And if we forget anywhere, we now suddenly don't have access to it. What the context provider says is that a component has the data ready inside of itself. The auth provider is ready to provide the data to any child component that requests it. And so the auth context provider is going to provide this information here to any system that asks for it within context, by asking for that context. In any component, we can now do the use context hook to say, hey, I want to use a context. And then we provided the context, and it will then be able to load this data into itself. No matter how deep into the component chain it is, no matter how deep down, no matter how many no matter how many great grandchild it is, no matter what generation child it is, it can pull that data immediately without having to pass that data all the way down the chain, but one to one to one. And so this allows components to have context to itself. And that's why they use the term context. It's saying, hey, I'm a component that cares about the authentication. So I'm within the context of authentication. So I need the auth context. Any components that don't care about the authentication system or don't care whether you're logged in or not isn't really in that context, and so it doesn't need it. And that's kind of the concept there. It allows us to send data around if that system, if that component needs it. Older React systems would use something called Redux to create what is called global state. And that was one of the most complicated systems of React to teach to anyone. I think, Leah, you did a little React with that, didn't you? You're muted. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you heard me.
I can't remember that far back.
Okay. Jim, did you do that part with us?
What
Did
part?
you React with Redux?
Yeah, back in the day, but I never really I never really understood like Redux. I mean, when I was
That was
doing
what I
it,
was trying to get to, though. What were your thoughts on Redux? How annoying was it?
it was kind of annoying. It was confusing
Yeah.
for me. I mean, I understood, like, as I was going, I understood what it was doing, but then I just like got lost after the fact. I'm like,
Yeah.
what am I doing? Well, I mean,
Yeah, it was one of those things that just had a lot of terminology that just was reusing terminology for things that already had a name, and so it was hard to keep track of what was happening, and it created a lot of different things. You had actors and action systems and handlers, and it was kind of a mess. It worked, it did the job,
Yeah.
but it was very, very messy, and so it was hard for some students, especially a lot of students, to wrap their heads around it. So I'm very happy that we switched now to these hook systems that provide a context provider, which makes it a lot simpler. So
yeah, we
I'm
did
very
the
happy on
Ninja.
this.
We did the React with React Redux with Ninja.
Yeah. Yep, we did. So Redux, again, it got the job done. It was useful for what we needed because it made things easier than trying to do, like I said before, passing data down the giant chain. You could just bring in certain state you needed as needed. But this system is a lot nicer and a little easier and a little more based on just reusing things we're already familiar with. We're just using more components, just more components. So, and more hooks instead of use state where you're doing use state and use context. So very, very, it's items that seem familiar versus bringing this whole new concept system into our program. So, well, last bit of code we're gonna add, and then we're gonna actually, no, we're gonna add the next bit of code on Monday because yeah, this is all good. What we'll do is Monday is we'll do a mini challenge when we start class to just turn these all into components. So don't fill these out yet. We'll hold that till Monday. Leave
Oops,
everything
too late.
as is. Damn you. I knew one of you had done that. I said I didn't add anything. It's fine then. Too late already. All right. Any questions on the code we have as of today? Hopefully everyone's code still is functioning. Everyone's website is still loading.
That it is.
Good. So again, hopefully this is looking more like an actual website that you would want to build. Maybe hopefully you're starting to get some ideas of what you're going to build for your site. So start grabbing your images from Unsplash if you want. If anyone, I'm trying to remember another one that's like, I think it's like Pixlr or something like that. There's a couple other again, free high res images sites. Unsplash is just the one that I remember so easily because I'm always using it for creating splash images. So it just sticks in my head better. But there are others, if anyone remembers them, then feel free to share them. So, well, we can try to give at least one day for algorithms. We're trying to get to day 9 of 30 days of code. If you're already there, you have the option, again, I would say 1 day this weekend at minimum to do algorithms, just try to go farther. I would say it's even, you're okay to skip day 10 if it's been blocking you. I think that's okay to say. Feel weird saying it, but I think it's fine for this one. Yeah, I think it's fine. Either that or again, do the warm-ups. I'm actually okay with that. But 1 day for algorithms, after that, you can then work on projects. But if you need the extra day on algorithms to get to day 9, take that extra day of algorithms. All right.
So if someone needs help with day 10, I can help them with it.
Okay, we're gonna review that on Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying. So I wanted to get to day 9. Get to day 9 again. Attempt day 10, of course. Attempt it. Definitely attempt it. But yeah, on day 10, we're gonna go ahead and review it as class. So And yeah, if anyone decides to do a study session or kind of work together on algorithms over the weekend, let me know. I'll give you guys a Zoom. Any last comments? I'll go ahead and stop sharing and turn off the recording.